The Mizo Diner is satiating the gastronomical desire of the people of Delhi from the year 2014 and is famous for its unique Northeast food. India Ware team is here today to speak to the owner Mr. David to find out what makes the place a happy hunting ground for the Northeast food lovers of Delhi. Okay, so David, just let me know like how this restaurant got started and what is your inspiration?
So this restaurant started about 4 years ago. It's been a long journey for me since I didn't have any experience with like the restaurant or cuisine necessarily. I was not into the whole cooking thing necessarily, aside from cooking for myself and for my friends. I never thought I would make it into a business per se. It sort of started out of luck also in a way, let me say, because I have been living in Delhi now for the past 18 years. I did my schooling here and I did my college here and everything. And then so having lived in Delhi for quite some time, I figured, okay, I think let me move back to Mizoram now since a lot of my friends have moved back and a lot of the people that I knew had sort of moved away from Delhi as well. And I thought, I needed a change of place, scene, and try my hand in opening a cafe. I was really into cafes. I am really into cafes. So 4 or 5 years ago, I planned on opening a cafe in Mizoram, in Aizawl. And I went back there, with the hopes of opening a business for myself. But right at that point of time, I was also doing graffiti, I was doing a lot of graffiti work for the most part. And around the same time, I was invited again for commission work in Delhi. So I came back to Delhi, and during that time I had some discussions with family, with friends, and then I decided, okay, all right, I think there's a better opportunity here in Delhi, and I think Delhi wanted me back, I guess. I don't know, maybe I haven't had enough of Delhi either. So yeah, the restaurant came about because I wanted to open something different and something unique in this area also. And yeah, there was no miso restaurant as such, in the whole of Delhi at that point of time. And in this area also in Humayunpur, there was no Northeastern restaurants aside from Tibetan restaurants or a Nepali restaurant or a Bhutanese restaurant. There were no Northeast restaurants here. So yeah, things sort of started shaping up on its own slowly, and it progressed somehow.
Yeah. So David, as we know, Northeast food is very unique and so very different from the rest of India. There is no question of any ground masalas. Everything is made unique, fresh, ingredients. How it is possible that you are able to bring in all of these fresh, unique ingredients from the Northeast?
Yeah, when we say fresh, you have to think about the cuisine as a whole. So if I have to, track back to, in times when our ancestors used to cook, or, our great grandfathers, grandmothers used to cook, they didn't have any system of electricity or refrigeration. So a lot of that was, that sort of inspired or paved the way for dried items. Like for example, we have dol reb, which we use here in the restaurant. So it's basically taro stems, taro leaves, which are dried over what we call rab. It's like a fireplace, and then we have like this contraption where we put like a net there, and so over there we rape or dry a lot of smoke dry a lot of our ingredients like dol rep, antur, and a couple of other spices and ingredients wherein once it's dry we can use it for a longer period, and then the taste also is enhanced. And in that ways, because of the lifestyle in itself, that has sort of paved the way for different sort of food items and the healthy habits that we have. Because a lot of the miso food items are boiled or prepared in a stew, and we don't have too many fried items. Now, in this day and age, there are a lot of like crossover cuisines, let's just say. We have a lot of now in the street food we have a lot of fried items as well. But primarily in the household we do have a lot of boiled vegetables and meat. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily boring, because that can have a lot of misconceptions with like, oh, miso you eat a lot of boiled food, like less salt or whatever. But it's at the end of the day, like if you're once you're accustomed to it, it's a healthier choice, and it is very enjoyable as well.
So as we know, pork dishes are famous across the northeast state.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to get supply of pork here in Delhi?
Surprisingly, it's not that difficult. You have a bunch of places that sell pork in and around Delhi. Obviously, it's not as available as chicken or mutton. But there's no issue per se to get pork here in Delhi. Luckily.
So across most of the northeast and across the world, we know of the heat and spice of some of these dishes. Many famous chilies from the northeast are now famous all around the world. Some examples are the Naga chili and the Bhatt Jolokia. What can we see about the spiciness of Mizoram cooking?
Yeah, I mean, Mizoram is not very famous for its, their chilies or their spicy food necessarily. I would mainly say, I don't think I'll be wrong in saying I think the Naga people are crazy with that. Like, we also sell their one of their pickles here. We have a supplier. But we do have our chili, like it's actually one of my favorite chilies. It's called the bird's eye chili. It's like a small, I think I've seen a lot of like Thai and Cambodians also using it in their chutneys, in their food ingredients as well. It's not as spicy as a Raja Mircha chutney, but it is, it packs quite a punch, and I love that chutney.
So what can you tell us about the rice beer? How is it made, and do you make it in house or do you get it straight from Mizoram?
Rice beer is, let's just say it's like a community drink. I think it's, I wouldn't be, I could be wrong, but for Mizoram, back in the day, when people lived in like small village units, let's just say, it was more of a community thing. It was never like, alcohol was never really like frowned upon. I think it was mostly, involved in all the celebratory festivals and, evening or whatever, And from there, it has sort of shaped our culture as well. But with Christianity, rice beer and what we call buzu and zufang and all that has sort of taken a back burner because of our church life now. But slowly people have begun to appreciate that again, because it has always been part of our culture, and the other states, other northeastern states like Nagaland have fully embraced it. And I think it's a beautiful thing as long as you're able to adjust and able to understand what it really entails, So rice beer or buzu or zufang are basically, like the name suggests, made out of rice. It's like there's a fermentation process. The longer you ferment it, the tastier it gets. Um, so yeah, it's basically a local tribal delicacy even.
Yeah. So tell us some of the unique aspects of Mizoram cooking. Tell us what is the festival dish. Please also tell us that what many of the common man eats on a daily basis.
Uh, I would first go with like the common man, um, and also think like, okay, what do we eat on our daily basis? You know, I mean, all my life I think I've had a lot of dal sabji as well. You know, aloo dal and rice. Since I was a kid, like that's what I remember. Um, and when I was a kid, like uh, because people have this misconception of in Delhi especially that North Eastern people eat a lot of meat. Yes, we do. There's no lie there. But when I was a kid, like I remember, having meat, any sort of meat, used to be like a Sunday thing a lot of times. But now that has changed a little bit. So yeah, we eat a lot of like mustard leaves. We eat a lot of green vegetables. Dal is always there. Masoor dal mostly, and and white rice. You know, either grown from Mizoram itself or the northeast or wherever that you can get a hold of. And it's like the regular boiled vegetables. And then we also have our bamboo shoot, bamboo shoot that we make with like meat or just by itself even. And we have a lot of like ball. Ball is basically a mixture of either spices and in ball we usually add this saun, which is called like a fermented preserved pork fat. So that is preserved over a couple of days in the sun, and then we use that as an main ingredient of our chutneys or meat or our bowl, So we had a bunch of things like that, and one of the more celebrated miso food item would be the pai, which is like a vegetable item again. It's basically a mixture of different vegetables. It could be a mixture of 5 or 4 or 3 or just 2 even. It's basically a lot of times either people add the saum or they don't, or they simply boil it as well. So it really depends on your taste. Either you add chilies or not. Also it depends on families to families. Like do they prefer spicy or non-spicy? And we also eat a lot of boksatsum with antram. Which is basically pork boiled with like leaves or any green leaves that you can get, either with cabbages also. And my personal favorite is the smoked pork, because that, like when you smoke it, the taste is enhanced like manifold according to me. I've had that since I was kids. Every time you're gonna have smoked pork in the house, it's like wow. I can't wait to eat, So yeah, I mean, and then we also have this blood sausage, which we call satitun. Satitun is basically a mixture of the innards of a pig, and we mix the liver, the blood, we take the intestine, stuff it. So how sausages are made necessarily, like a blood sausage, But that is a rarity though. Like you don't usually make that in the house because it takes a lot of process and you need a lot of different parts of the pig. You get that when a neighbor, in a neighborhood festival or Christmas or New Year's, things like that.
Yeah. So Mizo Dinner seems to have have made a good reputation and name for itself in Delhi. How do you feel about making people aware about the Northeast state?
I mean, yeah, I do feel a sense of responsibility. That was from the get-go, like my goal, my sort of, goal in a way to set up a restaurant to represent our culture, our food, so that, because food is such a icebreaker, so to speak, between cultures, because when you travel to different places, what you want to experience is their food and there's traditions here and there, So food speaks in volumes without necessarily trying too hard, It's either you like it or you don't, but there is a sense of of awareness and familiarity that you build once you ingest the food of a certain culture, you know. And I think that's a I think it's a beautiful process all in all, you know. And if I can make a business out of that, well, I mean, that's great, you know.
So, what can you tell us about influences of Mizo cooking when it comes to border state like Manipur and even Myanmar? How is Mizo cooking unique from this border state and Myanmar?
Yeah, I mean, with Myanmar, Burma, I think we share a very close. There are some similarities, and there are some food, the food items, let's say, which has crossed over to Mizoram. Like for example, sanpiao, lapetao, and things like that. You know, it's primarily Burmese food. But it has sort of crossed over as a street food item in Mizoram, which is great because then we add our own twist to it, our own Mizoram or Mizo twist to it, and then you know that's how the food culture can grow also. And if you look in the history books, that's how a lot of these food items and cuisines have sort of grown. And so Manipur, as a state, like I think they have a lot of different tribes and you know tribal groups. So it's kind of difficult to sort of differentiate exactly. But then yeah, there are a lot of similarities and dissimilarities as well. But with Myanmar, since we have a good community of Mizo people living there as well, since ages now, there's a place in Myanmar itself where Mizo communities are there, and the cross-border, you know, friendship, let's say, that's going on, has sort of given rise to this new breed of like, you know, trying out this food from the other border and then bringing it back here and sort of adding your own twist, and that has sort of helped in the development of the Mizo cuisine as well.
Yeah. So, you know, our viewers definitely want to know like how Mizos are independent on rice and how this can be wiped out during Motam, that red plague, for interest.
Sorry?
I'm just saying that like our
Motam.
viewers, yeah, Motam.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, we don't eat roti, we don't eat paratha, we don't have the system of eating bread, you know. We're like, we eat rice, we eat like a rice meal twice a day, which is super normal for us. Like, we eat rice in the morning and we eat rice in the evening. And a midday meal would basically consist of maybe a tea and a biscuit, or tea with something, you know, or some snack. We are, you know, rice heavy eaters, and yes, the plague, let's just say, or the Maotam. I think the government has been dealing it in ways that it has better and better in the recent years. There are a lot of preparations that go go on. But now I think that situation is looked upon as okay. I think the government is taking care of it. I don't think there's too much. I don't think it has affected daily life as such. You know, in the recent years that I've seen.